Welcome to the Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast with Aaron Schreiber, brought to you by Arlo Revolution. Each week, Aaron connects melodies and memories with fans and artists from all genres of life. When all else in life is gone, only music will be left to leave the legacy of life's adventures. Please welcome your host for the Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast, Aaron Schreiber.
What's going on, everybody? What a crazy week we are living in, or what is crazy world we're living in right now. Everything is just off the wall, insane, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we lose Joe Diffie. So I wanted to throw a little tribute to him at the beginning of the show. Anybody out there that's watching, I want to throw that up there. But welcome. If you guys are here, throw some comments up so I can kind of see them. And I know you guys are out there watching and you hear everything fine. And I got my other backup down here so I can watch and see. But as you guys saw at the top of the show, once again, we're sponsored by and brought to you by Arlo Revolution. Every week, I'm really glad to show that video and talk about them for a quick second. But amazing wedding films, music videos, promos, anything you're looking for. They do travel. I know right now everything is kind of at a standstill, but I'm sure if you call them up and kind of book something for midsummer or late summer, you probably give you a deal right now too. So look them up at Arlo Revolution. Once again, all of our Patreons out there, you are the lifeline, bloodline, everything of the show. We have a really cool show tonight. If you guys haven't seen the teaser yet, but we have a really cool after show that I can't wait to do. We're going to bring on Chris Johnson and Jeff Brown. They're going to come and join Jason and I. And we're just going to sit down and chit chat a little bit about kind of Joe Diffie, 90s country music, and all the other good stuff. So if you guys want to tune in a little bit after the show, just go ahead, check us out on Patreon. I could go ahead and put the link over in the comments too. Yeah. So hold on, let me see if. All right, cool. I want to make sure I'm not seeing comments, so I want to make sure everybody can hear everything fine. We're actually going good, but yeah, I'll go ahead and throw the link up. And if you guys want to check us out on the after show, go ahead and jump on that real quick during this show. And yeah, we're gonna have fun tonight. But other than that, our two on-screen sponsors, Art on a Higher Wire by Joelle. Just look up Art on the Higher Wire on Facebook and just look at some of her work. We're actually going to talk about some of her work tonight on the show, which I cannot wait to dig into that. And then Janet Stolth Creative, amazing marketing, online marketing services guaranteed to make companies be found and succeed on the web. And you can find them on Facebook and everywhere if you go look at. So if you guys, once again, we were talking about Patreon, just go ahead, check it out. It's the lifeline of our show. We're having now in season 2 here live after shows. We're going to bring some special guests on. We're going to have special topics. We're just going to have fun on doing them. But wrapping up, I want to go ahead and throw this up here real quick. Our monthly giveaway, we're going to be giving away next week's April already. God, this year's going by quick and everybody's just locked in their house. But next week, we will be doing our giveaway for our March giveaway, Jeremy Spillman book, T-shirt, sticker, another gift certificate. So get on it before it's too late. So let's see. Oh, yeah. I forgot about this. We got some cool news tonight. So last week, we had Ray Scott on, and this is going to be the last thing I talk about before we bring on our guest tonight. But we had Ray Scott on last week, and I don't know if it's because everybody's at home just hanging out or whatever, but we actually hit 15,000 views in 1 week on Ray's episode. I'm blown away by that. I couldn't believe we hit that many. It beat Tucker's episode at 10,000. So, and because of that, it actually hit this show in 27 episodes. Yeah, was this the 28th episode? Yeah, so in 27 episodes, we actually hit 105,000 views on Facebook. So I want to thank everybody that's ever watched any second of this show, ever gave me any bit of their time, but I appreciate it, guys. I never thought I'd have 105,000 views on anything like this, but appreciate it. We're blowing away season 1 already for views on season 2, so I can't wait to see how far this grows. We just introduced our April lineup, and it's just going to keep getting better and better. So, all right, you guys ready? I think everybody's ready to bring on a special guest.
You made me weak, and you made me moan.
Dude, thank you for bearing with me for this.
That's cool. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Because I can't see anything. All I have is stream is over.
Still. Okay.
Still.
Now, do you have a refresh button anywhere on your screen?
No. Hold on. I'm going to click out of here. If I kick out, I'll come back. So
I'll bring you back in if it happens.
Just press back to leave the broadcast.
These subtitles are going to really mess with me. I'm not going to be able to watch this. And now you're back.
There
All right.
we go.
Good.
Now I can see.
All right, dude. I think all the kinks are worked out. This is why I love doing this live, because you guys get to see all the fuck ups, I guess. Hey, don't blame it on Jason, Carolyn. It was actually probably my fault.
That's totally my fault.
The first part was my fault, being banned by Sony tonight.
I know that she messaged me right before we went live, and she's like, "You're going to be on the show?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I said I might bring up the Chavez's once or twice, and she got a little worried. So with comments like that, we'll see.
We'll share some stories about them for sure.
We've been around the block once or twice. I think they've actually been to. We'll get into that. I guess we can get into that a little bit later. But God, when we first met them, I think we've been to every show that I've been to since. We've been with them, if not one, maybe one. Yeah.
Hey, Johnson, see, I don't know if you could see this. Johnson said he's not getting subtitles on his end. I'm trying to put this by the camera. So there's what I'm seeing, Johnson. All these subtitles are at the bottom of the screen as I watch it. So it's just hilarious. I'm like trying to keep up with all the comments, but all I see is these subtitles. So I think I'm living in a bad Chinese movie right now.
Foreign films.
So yeah, well, you guys don't live too far from one another, right? Or because they're
out in California. So I mean, we're 6-7 hours apart, but it's we're so spread out on the West Coast here compared to everything back east that when he makes a West Coast swing, it's you got to kind of go where the shows are.
Fucking, they're giving us shit, dude, in the chat here tonight. But yeah, so you guys are actually really deprived out there, I think, because you guys don't really get to see too many church shows. I mean, he comes out to the West Coast a little bit, but not as often as you'd say the Midwest or anything.
No, I mean Arizona, and I know California gets big shows, but Arizona, even just for every other artist, we get screwed. We're more of like a travel through city from LA and big markets. We get we had the Stones on a Monday or Tuesday night. I saw the Guns N' Roses stadium tour on a Tuesday night. We're kind of that pass through town. So it makes it tough to see shows sometimes.
But you get spring baseball sometimes.
Well, we do have the cat. Well, so when I moved out here 30 some odd years ago, I remember going to spring baseball, and it was, you could walk up 10 minutes before the game started. Tickets were $5, and you'd sit, in between like home plate and first base or third base, 2-3 rows off the field. Now they sell season tickets, and it's almost more expensive to go to spring training than actual real games. It's crazy.
Oh man. Well,
it's crazy.
So many people now go out just spring training. I mean, I know tons of people go down for the Cubs every year down that way.
I've been to Sloan Park once, and it's a pretty nice facility. It's a good time.
Yeah, I heard it was really nice down there. I never got a chance to get down that way, but I have a buddy that goes out every year and goes to a couple games.
Yeah, the weather here in March is it's Chamber of Commerce stuff. It's well worth it, but it's weird driving by the ballparks now, and they're just empty. I mean, obviously the season would have started, but even 2 weeks ago when they canceled, just driving by and seeing them just totally empty, it was very weird.
Yeah, Frazee, we're still wondering what baseball is. So
Yeah. What's anything? I've been watching, I think, cornhole and old bowling reruns and whatever else I can find.
Where was it? It was last night. I think Jillian and I were sitting down watching some TV, and when we were watching it, we were watching the news. It was like the 9:00 news last night, and we never watch a live news. I don't know what made us put it on or whatever. We just threw it on, and it was like tonight on the 9:00 news sports. 20 years ago today, Hulk Hogan wrestles Andre the Giant. I'm like, you're gonna be fucking kidding me. She's like, they're digging deep these videos because there's nothing to play for like sports highlights here. So they're showing WWF videos.
It's been a lot of on this day in sports history, that's for sure. So it's been kind of fun to watch, but I'm ready for I think everybody's ready for life to kind of hopefully get back to normal sooner rather than later.
How is it like out in Phoenix? Is it still complete shutdown for a lot of places? I know we started talking about it, but I think we weren't live when we were talking about it.
No, I mean, schools shut down. They canceled those for the rest of the year, I think last week sometime. So none of the kids are out doing things, but our stay-at-home order is kind of a joke. So, I mean, you can go get your nails done, get your hair done. It's kind of a joke right now. So,
I'm trying to wonder. We have the news at where I work, and they're talking about essential businesses. But yeah, I saw an electronics and appliance place open. It's like, what really is essential? Like we were talking like all the tattoo places, all those places are closed. But if you're saying people can still get their nails done, and don't you think? I mean, that's not social distancing at all. I mean, if you're getting your nails done, you're pretty close to somebody.
Yeah, our list of essential businesses on the governor's website is it's open for interpretation, and people are interpreting it any way they want. That's for sure.
So like alcohol stores are essential. I work at a cannabis dispensary, and that's essential. I mean, we have a lot of medical patients, so I could see that being essential for them. But I'm surprised.
Yeah, no, those are still open here. I mean, there's no restrictions on any of that stuff, but it's like I said, it's open for interpretation. Just everybody stay at home if you can and be safe. Do
you think we're going to complete shutdown eventually?
Say that again?
Do you think we'll go to a complete shutdown before it's all over?
I mean, there's a lot of states that are almost in a complete shutdown. I think it's going to have to come from higher up and then the state level to kind of shut it down. But if people would just pay attention and do what they're supposed to do, it'll end. I mean, there's Facebook memes everywhere. Just be smart and stay at home and do what you should do. The sooner we can get on top of it, the sooner we can go back to normal.
Agreed. I definitely agree. Is this like I'm seeing a little bit of effects by it, but it's just like I know my wife's working to all hours. I'm working 10-hour shifts a week, which is nice, but it's just a lot of people are just still going about their regular days, and I think that's kind of what's really hurting in the long run. So, but I think I think it's gonna get worse before it gets better still, because I know what's going on in New York City is just unbelievable right now.
As more testing comes out, it's gonna climb and it's gonna peak and it's gonna freak everybody out, and then we'll see. I've heard reports May or June before we even start going back to.
Oh yeah, especially that's why CMA Fest canceled today, and that's huge for CMA Fest to cancel. But I just think then Summerfest in Milwaukee, one of the biggest summer. I mean, that's the end of June, beginning of July. That festival normally runs, and they've already postponed all the way to September now.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, we lost Country Thunder here. He was the headliner Sunday.
Stagecoach too, hasn't that been, or that hasn't been announced yet?
Stagecoach and Coachella pushed. Okay, they were the first real big festivals to push, other than South by Southwest canceling. So they pushed to the fall.
Cheyenne. Church is gonna be in Cheyenne, right, in July.
I think so. I mean, I think we've got tickets to go see him in Paso, in California, and I'm not counting my chickens that we're going to be able to see him even in late June or early July, whenever that is.
Yeah, we're probably 2020 is on hold for everybody. Just skip 2020. We're gonna go straight to 2021. Take a year off. So.
Yeah, it sucks.
All right, man. Well,
My wife just texted me and said, "Stay the fuck home." So stay the fuck at home, everybody.
well, that's what I mean. If you don't have to go out and get groceries or anything else, like I saw, I don't know, probably somebody in the choir today. I don't know. I saw somebody post it. And they're talking about like when they go to the grocery store, they're seeing it being like a family affair. And it's like, no, you pick one person, you go, you get the what you need, the essential items, and don't keep going back and forth. Get what you need for like a week and go once a week, one person or whatever. And then it's just you gotta watch out. I mean, you can't be taking like your entire family, your kids, like that's what worries me a lot about where I work and stuff. It's coming home because my dad was here for a couple of days and my kids were here. So, but now we sent the kids away for a while. So,
yeah, I mean that's the scariest part about it is you could carry symptoms and passed it on. Johnson just said he's done for 2020. So,
I think 2020.
You can carry symptoms and not even know it, but you can still pass it, and that's the scariest part. And it's just you might have it and be totally asymptomatic and not feel it, but you give it to that one person and it's the wrong person, and then it's bad news. So
I mean, that's probably like something that happened with like Joe Diffie. I mean, I don't know if they ever came out to where he contracted it or anything like that, but it's gotta be careful, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna play host for a second. Let's shift to happier stuff.
I was gonna try to do that. I was getting there. So tell me. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to catch up on the comments too. Tell me where all your musicals started. Like, what did your parents grow you up on when you're growing up in the house?
My dad he used to have a killer. I mean, he had a killer stereo in the turntable. And I mean, we had Beatles, Kenny Rogers. Kenny Rogers was my first concert at the Nebraska State Fair. I couldn't even have been more than 5 or 6 years old. Kenny Rogers, he was a huge Neil Diamond fan, singer-songwriter. And I think probably it wasn't even music that I listened to the most. It was the 2 Steve Martin comedy albums.
Oh, man.
That, Let's Get Small and Wild and Crazy Guy. And I would just put those on and over and over and over again. But, my brother, he had a lot of vinyl. He was into Springsteen. He got me into Springsteen as a kid. ELO. So, I grew up on rock. And then, of course, when I started to think on my own and become a real person, it was like I got into Van Halen and Motley Crue and, rock and roll. I like to have a good time with that kind of stuff. And, I knew of country. My dad, so this is a crazy story, but I was talking to my dad when we went back to Nebraska one time, and he's like, when I worked, I took tickets here. He actually took tickets at a Johnny Cash show.
Oh, man.
Back in Lincoln, and he was like, I got to see him. He walked by us, and he's like, he was drunker than a skunk. And I don't know how that guy made it onto the stage and how he played his show, but it was just, it was awesome. And then my grandparents lived in Oklahoma. So when I'd go see them, there was more of a country influence down there. So we grew up on country, and I was kind of that country rock kid.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to everything. Good music is good music. It's tough to put a genre on what you listen to. And so that's kind of where I came up. And then I went to college and had no idea what I was going to do. And halfway through my first semester, one of the guys in the dorm worked at the campus radio station. He's like, come down and hang out. So that's how I got into radio and worked in radio. And I worked at a top 40 station. I worked at a sports talk station. I worked at an AC station, and then classic rock, and then wound up at a country station. So just kind of bounced around through formats. And when I started
a little bit,
what's that?
So you made the rounds.
Well, a couple of the stations, they got bought out, formats changed. And when you go through that, you kind of roll with the punches and hang in there as long as you can before you get let go. But the country station actually called me and said, hey, we want you to come in and we want you to pre-recorded afternoons for about 3 weeks because they wanted to give it a whirl. Mm-hmm. So I went in and pre-recorded each day's show, and we just loaded my breaks into the computer. And people I knew, they'd see me out, and they're like, "But dude, you're on the radio right now." I'm like, "Yeah, it's the magic of radio." And I mean, when I went to that country station, that had to have been 95, 96. And I could have told you who Garth Brooks was, George Strait was, obviously Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, some of the bigger people. We didn't play a ton of them. We were a hot country station. But it was 90s country, so it was still good music.
Yeah.
And it just grew on me. And I stayed there I was there for probably 5 years, and just eventually it worked out. I went live in the afternoons full time and did afternoons for the whole time I was there until I graduated. I went to college for almost as long as most doctors. I have 2 degrees. I basically have 2 diplomas, but I say I have 2 degrees.
Yep.
But I worked and I was having fun, so it made it worth it staying there. So I did afternoons and eventually worked my way up to, I was the music director of the station and was programming the station. So got to meet up. We got to learn, it was cool in that position because when record labels would call you, hey, I got a new artist, check them out, and it was, I remember there was a big push for Gary Allan.
Oh, nice.
And I had him on, I interviewed him on the phone when Used Heart for Sale came out, and he was a blast. Mm-hmm. And then we brought him to Prescott for a concert, and he hung out with us all afternoon on the air. And then we were kind of running around with him, and he was an absolute blast.
I always heard he was a really, really down to earth, nice guy. I got to meet him one time. It was kind of a cool little situation how I got to meet him and hang out with him, and probably one of the nicest guys. But like, I think the time I met him, the situation was a little different. So, I mean, I guess I'll share the story. So it was the second time I think I ever saw church ever, or second or third time. And it was at BB King's on Beale Street. And it was the night, it was during the Me and My Gang tour when Rascal Flatts kicked church off the tour. So Rascal Flatts, Gary Allan, and Taylor Swift. Well, the minute the show was over, Gary Allan went over to BB King's with Trent Tomlinson to see Church's show, and they hung up upstairs.
Oh, so wow.
Afterwards, I was in the line, the meet and greet line. I was like one of the last ones, and Church and I were just bullshit talking. He's like, hey, I got a couple friends upstairs. You want to come upstairs and have some drinks? I'm like, yeah, all right. So we went upstairs, and his friends were Trent Tomlinson and Gary Allan. There's still a picture floating around somewhere with me, Gary Allan, and Trent Tomlinson together. And I just sat at a bar with Gary, Eric, and Trent, and I just listened to stories that they were sharing back and forth. Like, you always talk about being a fly on the wall. I was that fly on the wall sitting at a bar, and they closed the BB King's closed down, and they left us 4 up there. And that was like one of the coolest things ever. I just sat there, shut up, and I got to just take it all in, but I got to hear Gary Allan telling some really cool, deep stories and everything else.
If anybody out there if you can ever get into a room with artists, it doesn't matter where, and you just listen and let them start going, they will go on for hours. And some of the stories, and funny story that kind of went around, I don't even remember what year it was, but we had a snowstorm hit in Flagstaff, and it closed. I-40 runs through that town from New Mexico to California, and they closed I-40 down 40 miles in each direction, east and west, because there was so much snow. They were bringing the semis in and parking them in the college campus, and college classes shut down. It was the first time in like 100 years because there was so much snow. And basically people couldn't go. They wanted people to stay at home and not go to work. And I was at work, and it was me and the station manager and 2 other people. And he comes into the studio and he goes, there's some guy named Red Akins on the phone. And I'm like, seriously? And he goes, do you know who he is? And I said, yeah. I said, I just played a song. And it was right around when That's My Truck was his big single. So I come out and I pick up the phone, and he goes, "Hey, this is Red Akins." He's like, "Are you on air?" And I said, "Yeah." I'm like, "Is this really Red Akins?" He goes, "Yeah, we were in town. We stopped so the bus driver could sleep, and it snowed, and we can't leave."
Oh man.
And I'm like, "Can I pull you on air?" And he goes, I don't want to go on air because there were 2 country stations up there. He goes, "But we're gonna go play at there's a pretty famous country bar up there that people play at. It's known for live music." He goes, "We're gonna go play a stripped down acoustic set, and we're doing it for free. So if you can make it, be safe, come out." So we promoted it, and we went down and we hung out with him, and it was a blast. So fast forward like 6 months later, we're at Country Thunder the next year, and we take some listeners backstage to meet Blackhawk. And I'm talking with one of the guys in the band, and he's asking me where we're from, and he goes, "Flagstaff," and he goes, "You were there when it snowed a couple months ago." I said, "Yeah, it was about 6 months ago." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Red Akins owes us one," because Red Akins was on his way to Colorado to play a show, and Blackhawk wound up covering for him because he was snowed in. And I sat and talked to them about that show, and it just connected. But these guys and their stories are unbelievable from being on the road. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know there's another podcast someone was telling me about. It was like the stories from the road, or like stories of bus stories and stuff that they said is wild. But you hear the wild stories, but I always like hearing like the ones where everything's connected and where kind of like the road stories where artists do have other artists back like that, where like Blackhawk filled in for Red Akins and stuff.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It was like it was totally out of the blue, and I'm just sitting here talking to him, and he's asking me where I'm from, and for those guys to remember that, 5-6 months later and bring it up, and then we sat and joked about that for a while, and they were a hoot. And that was back in Country Thunder's infancy down here, and now it's like it's 4 days of debauchery in the desert. So
Dude, it's the same way up here. So that's where I met my wife 16 years ago. We met at Country Thunder, Wisconsin. She was camping right next to us. And I mean, it was back then, it was starting to get a little bit where there was like, you have your general camping and stuff. So we did general for a while, but it was starting to get a little partyish, and we moved to preferred, and it was good there for a while. It was kind of like the old folks area. But that's where we go camping there with my parents and stuff. But then it started getting a little wild over there, and then we stopped going after a while. Now I'm done with the festivals and the heat and the camping, and I'm good.
Yeah, I've had enough. But we decided we had to go this year because it's church in our backyard, and we can't pass it up. And we bought 1 days, and now we're stuck waiting until hopefully October when he comes back. So.
I still try to go, like the Wisconsin one. Jillian and I will try to go at least one day. So yeah, I'll do the 1 day, but I'm not doing the whole camping thing again.
Yeah, no, camping. It was the 1 year that we were there in full for the 4 days as a radio station. I mean, we had fifth wheels, but I mean, even when I left, there was dirt everywhere, and it took me probably a week to get clean. It was.
Yeah. You're sunburned, you're dirty. So now we camped last year at the Gorge out in Washington when Eric did the back-to-back nights. We were there for 3 nights, but we did the glamping or whatever. That was pretty cool. I'd do that again. But
the Gorge has got it down. So Country Thunder here is out in the middle of farmland, and it's dirt and weeds. So
yep. And every time when we had in Wisconsin, it would storm every year. So every year you'd have a storm that'd come through and fuck everything up. So yeah, you're talking. I know before we were talking, you're in country radio for a while, and you kind of got pushed out. What started pushing you out? I mean, what was kind of the changes that were being made?
It was the music. So I came to Phoenix and started working in Phoenix and radio. And there was a shift in the music because that was back in. I came down here and I was working. It was 2001, 2002, and there was a shift in the music. Mm-hmm. And I guess the other probably working in radio killed it for me too. And a lot of people think when you work in radio, you don't sit there and listen to the songs as they play. You're doing so much, but you do hear them. But it's not like you're just sitting there listening to your stereo for 4 or 5 hours in the afternoon and talking in between it. But the music shifted, and I'm just like, I had enough of it, and I shifted back to rock and roll, almost on a full-time basis, because there was nothing
like
there
radio,
for me.
or did you go
What's
back to
that?
doing like? Did you still do rock like radio and like with rock and roll music, or
No,
were
I
you
got
doing
out
radio?
of radio. I was working nights and weekends and swing, and just couldn't. I should have. Like we were talking about this earlier. I should have
Yeah.
gone to like a medium market
Okay.
versus coming down to Phoenix at that time. I think was the 8th major market in the city or in the United States, and I just went about it the wrong way. But my trailer hitch wasn't strong enough to want to try and survive in radio. So, I mean, it was fun, and I had a blast doing it. I would never give those days up, but it was time to get out. So,
There's always a time. I mean, I was doing radio for a while too, and I mean that was like my first love right out of high school. I went to Illinois Center for Broadcast and got the little certificate for radio broadcast. I worked for US 99, and I worked for another one in Rockford, Illinois. And I mean, I enjoyed doing it, and I love doing it. And I think that's kind of what's brought me back to doing like these podcasts, because it makes me think makes me remind me of my radio days back in the day. But I miss it at times for sure. But I just use no money in it. I mean, I have a really good friend that just got let go days ago, and actually the voice you hear, I'm like the guy that does my intros and my outros whenever beginning and the end of the shows. He was working for a local radio station, and he just came to work one day, and next thing you know, he had nothing, and it sucks because that's the way the radio world was, and it still is. And I don't think the radio world's ever really changed much, other than bigger corporations like iHeart and stuff taking over and really screwing things up.
It's totally changed. And I mean, I came up in small market, and small market radio is way different than even medium market to large market radio. You just got so much more freedom, and it was fun. But before we move away, I mean, I wouldn't trade those days for we met so many people, and I mean, you got to do so many things. We met Faith Hill. I met Faith Hill right before she went on tour with Tim McGraw, and that's all she could talk about was, oh my God, we're going on tour with Tim McGraw. We're going on tour with Tim McGraw. We're going on tour with Tim McGraw. And then we met Tim McGraw a year later. It was at that same Country Thunder, and it was funny because we took a little girl backstage who had a sign, and we picked people out to take her back, and she wanted to meet him. And right before we got up there, the manager stopped us, and she's like, it's his wife. And they were at this point married, and she was super pregnant. It was right before it was actually right when It's Your Love came out.
Okay.
And they performed that. So that was kind of cool. But the coolest thing that's happened, at least from that aspect of it, was the world's oldest rodeos here in Prescott Frontier Days. And it was myself and the afternoon guy from a Phoenix station. We got to introduce Chris Ledoux.
Oh, dude.
And I will never forget that show, and just going out and bringing that guy on stage and watching that guy he's Garth Brooks is entertaining. He's slowed down, I think, in his old age, but man, Chris Ledoux, he had to have been in his 50s. And that guy was exhausting to watch. And we were just standing there watching him from the side of the stage. I mean, just exhausting.
Yeah, that's cool.
He was a cowboy.
Because I know, I mean, the Midwest out this way, we really didn't get the whole like the cowboy, the Chris Ledoux's and stuff. Like coming around this area of Chicago, I don't think he really came around much. So, and I was always a fan, but just never really got too deep into it. But it's cool hearing stories about that. I think Chris Ledoux paved the way for like people like Garth and everything. I think he was definitely someone that kicked up a lot of that. He
was one of those guys that kind of did it on his own, and I would equate him to, he was probably the closest thing we've got to like an old school Cody Jinks to relate him to somebody now. Because I mean, ultimately Ledoux had a record deal, but he kind of did things his own ways, and he never got radio play. But man, his fans were so passionate about his music.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure, like out there, like out in like Texas, everything else, I'm sure he was huge too.
Oh yeah, I mean, he used to sell. You'd hear people tell stories about he'd sell the CDs out of the back of his truck. He'd play rodeos. He'd compete and play rodeos and sell the music right out of the back of his pickup truck. So
that's awesome. It's cool that you have one of your fondest memories, though, other than Chris Ledoux, is the Tim McGraw story you had. Because, like, honestly, the one takeaway I had from radio was I got to do a cool like Tim McGraw thing. He had whenever that book came out, that Dance Hall Doctor book or whatever he had.
Yeah.
But he was doing a book tour, and I got to kind of help host the book tour because I was still at the bottom of the trenches, I guess, of radio. So I was kind of like the new guy. So I was the one going all the remote broadcasts and helping set up and run all that stuff. But so I got to run the book signing, and then afterwards, Tim McGraw surprised everybody. And there was a place in Chicago, Buddy Guy Legends, is a small little bar, and it was Buddy Guy's bar. But he went over there and he fed the entire radio staff, and there's probably like 100 people. He bought everybody lunch, bought everybody dinner, and then he performed like 10 songs.
Nice.
So with him and his band, it was just a private setting. There's like probably no more than 100 people or so.
Yeah.
So that was probably one of the coolest things that I got to be a part of that too. So
cool.
He's definitely Tim McGraw definitely has a pretty good impact on radio, but that's kind of like going into what we're probably going into now is the other guy that how you and I met kind of stays away from radio and doesn't really go out that. He's not buying 100 radio DJs dinner and trying to win them.
No, he definitely stays away from it, but kind of shifting, getting out of radio, getting out of country. I didn't listen to a whole lot, so I didn't know a whole lot of the new artists. That shot you just put up was from the first show, and we were talking about it. I think I knew Smoke, Homeboy, and obviously Drinking My Hand, and that's at our hockey arena here in town, and we were going to a ton of hockey games, and we would walk out, and the promo video for Blood, Sweat, and Beers tour was playing, and it was the Drinking My Hand video, and I'm like, I gotta go see this guy. I got to go see what it's all about. It just looks like a blast. And my sister got us tickets. And I think I bought the Chief album right before we went and started listening to it. Because I'm like, God, I got to know some of the songs before we go see this guy.
Yeah.
And that show was on a Friday. The CMA Awards were Wednesday night. Chief won Album of the Year. First time I'd seen him perform, he played Springsteen. He played Born to Run inside of Springsteen. And I'm like, oh, we got to go Friday. Friday is going to be super cool. Yeah. So we went, and it was Kip Moore opened, and then Justin Moore played, and then Chief Church came out. And we were talking about this earlier, and I'm like, there was smoke and rumbling, and the stage opened up, and green smoke poured out. And this guy walks out with his guitar and his sunglasses and his hat and just dominated for 2 hours. He opened with Country Music Jesus. Mm-hmm. And then he played, and I know about this, he played Country Music Jesus, Guys Like Me, Hell on the Heart. And to this day, I know that song gets a lot of flack.
Yeah.
But when he played Hell on the Heart, it was so hard and so fast. It was a different song. It wasn't the forced radio love song that it is.
Yeah.
And it was so good. And then he played Pledge Allegiance to the Hag, and he finally stopped and he said, we just won Album of the Year. If you don't mind, we're going to play every song off Chief tonight. And that was, yes. I was hooked after that. I mean, 4 songs in, I was done.
Yeah, I know we were talking earlier about that, and I got to see the one show, or when he did Council Bluffs, Iowa, Stewart Cove. It was the night he recorded filmed the Drinking My Hand video, and he played front to back, like every track in order, and that was cool. But just hearing the entire album throughout the night and having him being that excited because he just won that award, I bet was huge because that was one of that's still to this day I think is one of his biggest awards that he's ever won.
Well, for a guy that writes almost everything he records, I mean, he's had a hand in I think every song but one that he's recorded. It's just that's what he's about. It's like you say, he's not about radio play. He's about albums front to back.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And I remember I was looking down. I had no idea that Jeff Cease was his guitar player. And I'm like, and that Cease was pretty big back then, and he had the goatee, and it was just, he was gnarly. And I remember looking over at Driver, and I'm like, this is a country guy, and these guitarists are just shredding. And
did you recognize Cease when you first saw him? Like, did you recognize him from anywhere else, or did you know going into
I didn't know who it was, and then so the next day I didn't know who anybody in the band was except for him that first night when we went to go see it. And then I got online because I wanted to get the set list. And I read a review, and the guy outlined the members of the band. I'm like, Jeff Cease, holy shit. He was Black Crowes. And I mean, I love people when they go to church shows, they've got their side of the stage.
Yep. I
always go to what would be the left side if you're facing the stage, because I love watching Cease play. He's incredible. Not that Driver's not, but just a blast.
I try to kind of like I'm one guy that always was comparing, and I hate doing that, like him and Smoke, because I got so used to seeing Smoke, and I loved Ed Smoke. And then when Cease came over, it was just a different style. It was a different. Like there's no comparing the two because they're still both phenomenal guitar players, but like I love that they have their own little niche. So like Cease didn't try to be anything Smoke was. So like I love that before Two Pink Lines, Ed would play the harmonica. Before she does, Ed would play the talk box. Cease doesn't play either of that. So for me, being like from back in the day, I'm missing the harmonica for Before She Does. I'm missing the talk box or the harmonica for Two Pink Lines and the talk box for Before She Does. But it's cool because you get to see a different take on it now.
Yeah. Well, it's cool when they rework songs, because I remember that show when he played Jack Daniels, he did a mashup with Living Part of Life.
Yeah.
Jack Daniels, which was kind of cool. But then
is that when Driver had like a little brake pad or whatever? He had the rotor he was playing drums on, I think.
I think so.
He had something goofy thing.
Yeah, and then it was 3 or 4 shows later. We saw him up in Vegas at the Joint back to back, and he did Living Part of Life there. But it was that stripped down, funky version that he does now, which has got kind of the cool groove. I love it when they reinvent songs, and play them live like that. So
he did Hard Way one time way back in the day, and I'm sure there might be people in the chat that remember this, but way back in the day, he did a fast version of Hard Way. It's still somewhere on YouTube, I think. Yeah. And it was like the coolest, like funkiest, like version I ever heard of the song. But like he almost was doing a show where he would take a lot of his slower songs, he sped them up, and a lot of his faster songs he slowed down. And I think it was at Joe's Bar one year, just a long time ago, and he was just having fun with it. That's why I like this guy, because when he's coming up, he took chances. He still does with some of his albums, but So we're going into just like kind of jumping into your church choir experience. When did you first kind of like really digging into the choir? I mean, because you're coming back from the rock world, and now you finally saw your first church show. Did you kind of just like start just checking everything about church out, or?
No, I got into the music. And of course I had Carolina and Sinners very, very quickly after that first show. And then he did Caught in the Act. That was my first getting back into vinyl, was that first record store day of Caught in the Act with the Whiskey Infused single in it. So kind of got back into vinyl with that. And then Outsiders came out, and I still hadn't jumped on board the way it was. And we sat in the choir loft for the Outsiders tour, which was a cool perspective. And then it was like after Outsiders, it really took off. And we went to the 2 Vegas shows, and it really kind of took off because at that point I had become a choir member, and we bought pre-sale tickets for those shows, and then it was kind of full go at that point. So, we chose Vegas over Red Rocks, which was, I'm like, in hindsight now, I kick myself for it because we actually talked about it. It's like, do we go to Red Rocks or do we go to Vegas? And the kids were little at that point, or littler, and Vegas was a lot easier we hopped on a plane Saturday morning, flew up, had a Saturday night show, had a Sunday night show, woke up early Monday, flew home, and went to work. But Red Rocks would have been a little harder. So, yeah. But I still remember that night too.
I kicked myself in for that Red Rocks show, but it was wasn't it like a Tuesday, Wednesday or something, or Wednesday, Thursday? It was like the middle of the week.
I think it was a Wednesday night because I was sitting on the couch and, Facebook, bing, Eric Church is live. Yeah. And I tuned in and here he is. Hey, we're going on a tour. We're going to do it. And then, he played the Mr. Smedley, which was awesome. And then I start watching, then the tour date starts scrolling and I'm like, he's opening in Lincoln. And, and I've never traveled for an artist. Yeah. Other than church. And I'm like, he's opening in Lincoln. It's a perfect excuse to go back home. There we are in the cold. My dad's not allowed to pick football games anymore.
That's funny.
Because it was like 15 degrees that day. It was so cold. But we went back to Lincoln and then we saw him here. And then, of course, everything, with Texas, and we went back to Omaha. We've been to California twice.
I think is that where I think you and I might. Did we meet in Lincoln that year? I know.
No. So we were. So that there was that whole. There was obviously there's been. When is there not pre-sale issues with Eric Church tickets? But so dude, I got online and
anymore.
Phoenix. Well, the Phoenix show, Holding My Own, was on my birthday, so I wanted to get tickets. I wanted pit tickets for Phoenix, and I went on and I had pit tickets in my cart for Phoenix, and then I went and jumped over to Lincoln, and I couldn't put any more pit tickets in my cart. So I went back to Phoenix, dropped them, and bought 2, and then went back, and of course pit for Lincoln was sold out by that time. And we sat in the very back of the floor. I was in the last row of the floor in Lincoln for the opening.
Okay.
We were in the pit for Phoenix, that was like my first. That was my first Eric Church moment. That was when the bromance started.
Oh, that's when it was built. Is that the night you got the cup from the picture I showed earlier?
Yeah, that is the night I got the cup. So
you shared a cup together, so it started that night.
We did. It was, and oh god, the whiskey is so good out of those. It's amazing. But so we went to that, and I made a little sign that said, hey Eric, it's my birthday. Let's do a shot. And that's actually after that show is how I really, really got involved in the church choir, because I held up the sign and he took it, and my wife took pictures, but I wanted to see it because, of course, it happened, and I'm reliving it in my mind, and I wanted to see it. So that's how I found like the Holding My Own page on Facebook and kind of got into the choir family more so. And it took about 6 months, and a guy out of New Mexico named Joe Diaz actually videoed it and sent it to me, which was cool. So for everybody that goes to shows and you have an Eric Church moment, don't give up. Somebody recorded it somewhere. It's out there somewhere.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because it's everywhere. Anytime anything happens, I know, keep looking. I know we were talking with Donna Warner a couple episodes back, and she said the same thing. She had an episode or a moment with Eric, and she's like, I know someone has it on video. It's going to be out there, and you'll stumble on something somewhere. And I still do that. I'll be on YouTube and see old videos, and where something happened, like, oh shit, I was there. That's me right there, or whatever. And it's kind of cool going back and seeing it.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's fun. I mean, I've gone back and looked at, I scoured YouTube for videos, and you scour them, and it's like, hey, I see myself right down there in front, and you kind of go through it. So it's fun, but yeah, don't give up if you have a moment. It's out there somewhere. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I definitely. So, what's been your? Do you think that's been your number one Eric Church moment, or has anything topped that for you?
Obviously, the guitar in Sacramento, and you know what, and I take that back, because so we can shift over to that, because Sacramento was it was a full circle weekend in this journey. So getting involved with the Facebook groups and things like that, obviously Route 91 happened. Great friends of ours, the Chavezes, were there. They wound up leaving, but we went to bed right before everything went down up there. So I didn't find out about it until Monday morning. And come to find out, Frazee was there. A bunch of other people were there. My wife is a teacher at ASU here, and she had a student who was on the rail when the bullets started flying with her entire family.
Oh man.
So when that went down, it was like, what can I do? And at that point, I had obviously been building guitars.
Yeah.
And I had the chief guitar, what I dubbed was the chief guitar. I was building it for myself.